alright. Hope you're all keeping well and, staying alert. Apologies for me lack of chatter over the last few weeks. Been keeping myself busy, haven't I? Falling down rabbit holes of research. You know what I'm like. Anyway, I was perusing on Tinterweb t'other day and came across a blog I thought you all might be interested in. Don't know if you remember that story about that journalist. Percy Baxter, his name. From the middle part of last year. You know, the silly bugger who landed himself a plum job at the Financial Times, only to go and lose it 3 months later, after he were caught listening on a rival paper's conference calls. Used his work email. Soft bastard. Clearly a job he weren't suited for. A lack of journalistic integrity might fly with the tabloids. But in the big leagues, well, they take a rather dim view of that kind of thing. Anyway, I digress. As a result of his sudden unemployment, he was forced to move back up here. He's a local lad, see. Luckily, Mummy and Daddy were on hand to help him out, ponyed up the cash for a deposit on a small flat in town. Weren't long before he was settled in and had found himself a new job, working for our local rag no less. God knows how he got that gig, based on his previous transgressions. I can only assume his daddy had something to do with it. He's known to be a rather persuasive man, is Mr. Baxter. Fingers in a lot of pies. Now, our paper has this kind of bi-monthly supplement, known fondly as the Sparrow's Beak. It deals with bits of local lore, legends, supernatural happenings, and general 14 ephemera. Quite popular in its own way. A bit of a break from the usual humdrum that goes on in and around the county. It was to this that Percy found himself assigned. Judging by his first chain of blog posts, this was a task he didn't quite feel suited to, shall we say. Blog post entitled, "A Ferrari to Pull a Caravan." Well, my lovely followers, good news and bad. First the good, I'm writing again. By some miracle, after all that unpleasantness with the Times, I've landed a job with a most esteemed and venerable publication. That being the local rag. Yeah, I know. But hey, it's better than stacking shelves at Tesco's, innit? Now the bad news. Seems my new employers are intent on wasting my considerable journalistic talents. You know me, I'm all about the hot topics. Trump, Brexit, social justice, all that. So what do you reckon they got me working on? Local bullshit, that's what. Morris dances, haunted pubs. It's all rubbish. I'm interviewing some daft cow who reckons she saw the spirit of a talking mongoose next week. I mean, who cares about that? Oh well. Rest assured I'll put my usual slant on it. It's a living. Not an happy chappy. Not an happy chappy at all. But that, it seems, we're about to change. Blog entitled, "A Task Worth Doing." Finally, something a bit more suited to my talents. A bit of investigative journalism. I know, I'm as shocked as you are, my lovely followers. But according to my gaffer, this job requires a more hard-faced approach. Maybe even a bit of rule breaking. Well, we all know them's my specialties. So what have they got me covering, I hear you ask? What is this story that requires my maverick skills? Well, they want me to check out a festival. Alas, not a music festival. It's a folk thing, called The Rising or something like that. According to the gaffer, not much is known about it. Even what he knows is rumours and hearsay. And that guy could talk your ear off all day about local traditions. which I must admit piques my interest a little bit. Gets me out of town for a few days as well. Thing takes place well out in the sticks. They got me booked into this pub called the Angler's Arms for a couple of nights. You know what that means. Drinks all round. All claimed on the expense account, of course. Hee hee hee. The Rising. Now that got me cogs turning. I've heard mention of it before. Some kind of solstice tradition. Particular to the village of Lakeshore, a small habitation located on the edge of the peaks. Gets its name from its close proximity to a lake called Corbinick's Pool. Nice spot for fishing, also I've been told. Not visited myself, nor am I likely to, based on the knowledge gleaned from the subsequent posts. Blog entitled, Something a Bit Fishy. So I have arrived in Lakeshore. Lovely little village. Got a bit of a coastal vibe going on. Bit weird. Ain't exactly close to the sea, but God, the lake's impressive. Don't know why I ain't come up here before. I reckon it's right nice in the summer. Few beers. That said, the locals are an odd bunch. Quiet. Bordering on standoffish. Had to stop for directions a couple of times. Sat-nav was playing silly buggers. Got no more than nods and vague hand gestures. Still, I'm here now. The pub they got me staying in is ye oldie as they come. Chock full of taxidermy fish and old angling paraphernalia. Well, I guess it is called the Angler's Arms. I'll drop a pic in of a particularly impressive looking stuffed pike they've got in the bar area. Must have taken some catching. Anyway, I'm not here to carp on about preserved fish. Time for me to go and net some info on this mysterious festival. I'll start at the bar, I think. Now, where did I put the company credit card? Next blog entitled, Keeping Mum. Well, they're a right lovely bunch round here. Really accommodating like. I don't think. So I went down to the bar after unpacking. Took my usual approach. Started making small talk. Met with a complete wall of silence. Here we go, I thought. Best grease the wheels a bit. So I says to the girl on the bar, next round's on me. Whatever everyone's having. She just looks at me all confused. So I hands over my card and assures her it's no trouble, rack 'em up. At that she nodded, and mechanically starts pouring pints from this one tap. So I says, here, I'll have the same please. She hands me a glass of this dark hoppy ale and carries on pouring, so I takes a sip. Not bad. I'm not really an ale drinker, but you know, it was alright. Making another attempt at small talk, I says, nice drop this, what's it called? She paused and taps the plaque on the front of the pump, emblazoned with this kingfisher. Ah, kingfisher, I says. A nice pint of kingfisher. Not gonna lie, I was starting to get a bit nervy at this point. I mean, what was with the silence? I just brought everybody around. You would have at least thought I'd have got some thanks, but nah, nothing. Anyway, I decided to just go all in. Took another sip of my pint and remarked how it must be a busy time for 'em, what with the rising fast approaching. At that the girl stopped dead, slowly backed away, disappearing through an half-open door just off at the side of the bar. I looked round at the other patrons. Something I said? I inquired. Of course I got no answer. They all just sat there, hunched over the drinks, doing their best to avoid eye contact. A moment or so later the landlady appeared, big smile on her face. "Did you find your room okay?" she asked, to which I nodded. She then asked if there was anything else I needed. "What time does the rising start?" I said casually. At that her face darkened. "That why you here?" she shot back. Not the reaction I was expecting. So I nodded, and rather irritably she said, "You're a day early. It's on the solstice, at sundown. Anything else?" They're very cagey about this festival, I thought to myself, but decided to press on regardless. So I says, "Actually, yes. I was wondering if there was anyone I could speak to about the festival." To which she shrugged and gave me a rather non-committal, "You can ask about if you want. Not many you know. Just somewhat we do. Somewhat we've always done. Doubt you'd understand. You'll see on the morrow." Like I say, lovely people round here. The residents of the village were equally unhelpful. The majority keeping mum the whole time, not saying a word. Those that did speak, more or less told me to mind my own. So like the sinner that I am, and God knows I've sinned, I decided to seek salvation at the church. Surely the bloody vicar knew something. Last refuge of fools and all that, eh? To call it a church would possibly be giving it too much credit. More a tumble-down mound of rock. It was bloody freezing inside. A more forbidding place I can't imagine. Found the vicar at prayer. He seemed almost shocked at my sudden appearance, apparently not used to social interaction, but from what I'd seen of his flock, I wasn't surprised. He asked what I wanted, so I told him how I was writing an article on the rising and wondered if he might know something. As before, I was met with reluctance, the wizened old cleric clearly uncomfortable at the prospect of talking about the festival. So I said to him, "Look, 30 minutes. That's all I ask. I'll even drop a little something in the collections plate. I know, bribing a vicar, not my finest moment, but bugger me if I wasn't leaving without the story. This gig was fast becoming my white whale." I've dropped the audio from the interview below for any curious. Take it with a pinch of salt. I'll play the interview for you. It's an interesting listen. Put it that way. Time of interview 3:30 p.m, 21st of December 2019. Lakeshore Rising Festival. Interviewee Reverend Thomas Sims. Thanks for agreeing to the interview, much appreciated. So what can you tell me about the rising? Not much, I'm afraid. Something they do every year on the winter solstice. Seen similar practices elsewhere. The Mari Lwyd, the old ball. They have a procession through the village, led by a hobby horse, ridden by a skeletal knight. It's a macabre looking thing. The old damn festival is macabre. Not the usual japery you see at these things. Right, could you expand on that at all? The whole thing seems preoccupied with death. The procession is comprised of decorated coffins, carried aloft by the villagers. All the while that skeletal rider capers around in front, clacking its teeth. This is all accompanied by low drumming and sombre piping. The procession starts up at the village hall and slowly winds its way through the streets, down to the shores of the lake. What, and that's it? Oh no. They wait until the moon shines upon the water. That's when it happens. What happens? Corbinic rises. What, the lake? You mean the water level rises? No, Corbinic. It's high towers, its tall stone walls. Up from the depths, casting its shadow once more. I don't follow. You mean like a castle? Aye. You'll see. If you resolve to stay and watch, you'll see. But I'd caution don't follow. Let 'em be, lest you see what I saw. And what did you see? Ha ha! That's between me and God, lad. Mark my words, you don't want to know. But I'll tell you this, Lake sure ain't right. 20 years I've been here. 20 years in this ruin. Not one word passed between me and my flock. 20 years of naught but silence. Not a baptism, no burial. My font is dry, and the churchyard undisturbed. Not one coffin have I put in that ground. No, for it's the lake that receives them. Not a soul to heaven goes, for it is to Corbenick where thy spirit flows. Right, okay. I think we're done now, lad. Remember, don't follow. Take your notes, take your photograph, and leave. You'll lead an happier life not knowing. Trust me on that. Okay, cool. Thanks for your time, I think. Not wrong was I when I said it were an interesting listen. Not a soul to heaven goes, for it is to Corbenick where thy spirit flows. Strange little ditty that. What could it mean, I wonder? Now, after that last blog post, there were nothing. No follow-up. Nothing. I even made an attempt at getting hold of issues of the Sparrow's Beak supplement from between the end of December and now. Story don't appear in any of them. In fact, there's no articles authored by Percy at all during that period. It's almost as if he just vanished. Then yesterday, I get a notification. A new post from Percy's blog. Seems he didn't heed the Reverend Thomas's advice. Blog. Untitled. Why didn't I listen? Why did I follow? No story's worth this. They say curiosity killed the cat. Well, this cat still lives. Barely. Chemically altered. Hopped up on Thorazine. But that don't help. I still see it. It's all up here. Burnt into my mind. I followed. Fell in step with that macabre dance. Through the village and down to the shore. The moon shone upon the water. And Corbenick rose, just as the Reverend said it would. And one by one they walked in the coffins, over the bridge, beneath the shadowed walls, through dank halls, bereft of light, and I followed, until at last we came to a great hall. At its centre a king, sat up on a throne of rock. What a fearful sight he was, encased in rusted armour, gaunt and haggard, clutching a rent in his side, from which a stream of blood flowed. The Fisher King they called him. He bade the coffin bearers lay their heavy load at his feet, and one by one the caskets were opened, revealing bodies, some fresh, some maggot-ridden and decayed. The Fisher King stood, and from his tattered robes produced a chalice, the contents of which he dripped onto the bodies. and then they began to rise. No blemish of death upon them, yet there was something wrong, something absent. As one they stood, their arms twisting skyward, mouths yawning wide, yet no screams came, only tortured silence. And he laughed, a long, breathless laugh. I know not how I escaped. Everything since is a blur. But trust me when I say, part of me remains there. For my soul I no longer own, for to Coburnick is where it hath flown. Something tells me we won't be hearing much from Percy for the foreseeable future. Makes you wonder, was the story worth chasing? What was the ultimate price? I'll leave you to ponder that. Until next time, have a good one.